a decision to come out of the culturally induced busyness.
Yes.
That's become the new hallmark. Oh, I'm busy, as though that's something good. What it means is that you are not productive because you're flooded with the chemicals of busyness, meaning you're stressed. And people stopped using the word stressed because people like me were coming along going, you may not want to claim that for yourself. I've learned to be a little gentler in conversations and just help people understand that stress in and of itself creates more stress. Stress is not bad. Stress is good for you. If it wasn't for stress, we wouldn't get out of bed in the morning. Stress is a useful tool if it's a tool that you're controlling. When it's controlling you, life is not as good.
Right. And it's time to redirect. What I love that you mentioned is starting a conversation, because when they feel it's okay to talk about it, then they can relax. It's okay. And they start to understand these feelings. Talking is important. I mean, I've gone through hard times in my life, and the talking is very important.
Absolutely.
So, Jackie, I have a burning question here. So we know that if we're talking multi-generational, which is important, but there's not that conversation that's been developed necessarily between multi-generations. And when you look at the younger generations, their connection is through social media, however you define that, whether that be Snapshot or, I don't know what all those new words are, Facebook, whatever, but that's their go-to. They're thinking they're having conversations with that.
Right. And they are exchanging words, but that's not the same thing as what we used to experience around the dinner table with multi-generational conversation, where resonance actually occurred and where kids could watch adults disagree without it damaging the relationship. They got the lesson. They understood that relationships are resilient and opinions are not threatening. And a difference of opinion is just that, a difference of opinion.
Right. So the question is, how do you shift it with their consumption of the Facebook, the phones, et cetera, to actually having a conversation?
You work with it. That's why we created the mentorship program. This is not a case where you can make a villain out of technology or social media and expect to positively impact anything.
Right.
So instead of getting into that conversation, we decided to get underneath it.
Okay.
Where do teens interact face to face? In school. Where do teens interact in school? Is in the classroom. What if in every classroom we could have a certified suicide prevention mentor, someone who knew how to start a conversation, how to hold a space without judgment, and someone who could be comfortable with, let's just talk about it, and be comfortable with, I think you need help, and going and reporting. Okay. There's a place of judgment, and this is where the mentorship training has to come in. It's not like someone can just go start a conversation and expect to be able to not trigger somebody. To like, wait a minute, I don't want to be responsible. So I've created the program so that it's about being able to start a conversation. And we're not talking about reaching the people who are suicidal. We're talking about starting a conversation with people who simply are normal, having a normal negative thought come through their minds, and just opening a conversation so they know that that's normal, so they don't get stuck in it. It's the conversation that if we can have it, we can save a generation. And if we don't start having this conversation in our schools with our peers, we're losing a generation.
So you have do you have a web page where people can go to find out more about this? And or is this actually being implemented in schools right now? What does that look like?
The beta program is launching with the new year. And if you think this is important and you want to sponsor a teen into the program, you can do that today. You go to missiondrivenmentors.com.
Uh-huh. And that's where they get training or they get connection, or what does that look like?
In the program, they get training. It's a 7-week online course. The guidebook for it is based on the 7 lessons that connect people. That it's the basis of the guidebook that I wrote for entrepreneurs on sales. I'm using that framework and setting it up so that teens can understand how to open a conversation, how to listen, how to help people understand that emotions are an internal guidance system, not a death sentence. Mm-hmm. Just this conversation. So it's 7 weeks. It's really fast, and there's follow-up work. So they'll have the books, they'll have the tools, and they'll have the confidence to know that they can be there. And
now,
that's
speaking of books, there's a book around all this called Make It a Great Day, I believe, right?
Make it a great day. The choice is yours.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Make it a great day. The choice is yours is what happened after that 7-minute talk. Over 20 of my tribe came together and we wrote and published a book in 3 weeks. The book is about the stories where we stubbed our toe and we didn't let it stub our day. Some of them are funny. Some of them are really raw and relevant. And some of them even come with dog turds.
I love it. You know, I think you're working at this twofold, because the way I see the students being mentored into the peer mentoring group, they're going to take on a sense of fulfillment for themselves, because possibly they're the type of person that might want to go into something of this field, or they have that capacity. So they're going to be pushed up in their sense of self-value. And I don't think that social media is bad at all. I use it a lot for business. But when your sense of value comes from how many likes or who's looking at your stuff or who's commenting, that becomes detrimental. So you're going to be hitting this twofold, which I absolutely love.
It is really about trusting your own emotional guidance system, getting your sense of self from yourself. And this is part of the education that's been missing. It's been devalued, and it's not nobody's fault. You know, we started being more mobile. We started moving. We stopped living in the same community where our parents and our grandparents and our aunts and our uncles and our cousins.
Yeah.
You know, we stopped having the tribe. And we became a global village, but there's a problem. We don't have any cultural norms, especially on this topic of suicide. There used to be a cultural injunction against suicide. And we shifted that into individual rights. And you have the right even to take your own life. And I stand here today and say, no, you don't. You do not have the right to take your own life, because when you take your own life, you are giving tacit approval to the people who know, like, and care about you to take their own lives. So I have a really heavy hand on this, and I'm not the only one. There's a whole movement. There's a whole book actually called Stay. And it starts with being thankful to every single human being that you run into, because they chose to stay. They chose to stay through the hard times, the rough times, the misery that can be part of life. They chose to stay. And so every single human being above ground that you encounter deserves your gratitude. And if we start that conversation, people will want to stay.
Jackie, this is a really, really strong, incredible movement that you're creating here. What would you say is the biggest obstacle to creating awareness to this epidemic, this silent epidemic?
It's hard for people to learn something they think they already know. There's so much information out there about what are the signs, the symptoms, and the causes of suicide that people are having a hard time putting that aside and hearing that I'm not out to change that dialogue around the causes, the signs, and the symptoms of suicide. I'm opening a brand new dialogue of how do we get ahead of this wave? How do we prevent it from ever being a problem? How do we work with the brain the way the brain is naturally designed to work so that the brain is planning for your future rather than your exit? That's the conversation I want to have.
I love it. And how has this been received by the communities that you have spoken to? And I'm assuming you're speaking out about this in different places.
I am speaking out about this every place. And what I'm hearing is that almost everyone has a story. Everyone knows someone who's tried or died. Everyone. And thanks to the media broadcasting it with celebrities, everyone knows someone who's tried or died. What does that mean? It means that everyone is at a higher risk of attempting suicide themselves. Everyone. Mm-hmm. Because one of the indicators of suicide attempt likelihood is if you know somebody who did. If you know someone who took their own life, you are more likely to take yours. That's why I said it gives tacit permission. Well, thanks to the media, everybody in this country knows somebody who took their own life.
Wow. Well, we could go on about this very powerful topic. I know our listeners have been very inspired today. So, Jackie, how can people reach out and how can people get involved quickly before we sign off?
They can join the movement. They can sponsor a teen to become a mentor. That's missiondrivenmentors.com. Okay. They can buy a Make It a Great Day book. They can buy a Pulmonica for themselves. They can buy any of the other books that are up there. We've partnered with the bully vaccine. We've partnered with the Self-Esteem Survival Guide. All of these books are available on the website, makeitagreatdaybook.com.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Jackie.
Thank you. So thanks, everyone. And thank you to Integrative Healing Arts and Wellness Center for their sponsorship. And thank you all for joining us today. And be sure to listen in next time.